Good morning, dirty gardeners. I'm Iron, also known as Dirty Dragon. I'm going to do a quick video today about how I transfer seeds from their seed trays, their seedling baby nursery trays, and pot them up into 4-inch trays before they can be hardened off and put outside. So I'm going to show how I do it, the kind of soil I use, and my technique, which is really not very technical, but whatever. I mean, this is probably going to help some newbies that have never done this before. It might provide some information for more experienced growers, but I don't know. I'm also going to go into how to prevent damping off of baby seedlings in their nursery trays. So, it's pissing rain outside again. And that's why I'm inside. I'd much rather be out in the garden, but yeah, whatever. This needed to be done, and people have been asking about it. So here we go. Okay, so here we have a bunch of marigold seedlings that I've just divided from this tray here. The best ones were on the end here. I'm going to let these ones mature for a little bit longer. I don't think they had enough water in the middle. I don't know why, because I fed the tray tons of water underneath, and I guess because of the way that it's distributed or something, it just didn't reach the middle ones. Anyway, so these are the ones I've already potted up. These, I believe, are Snapdragons. Yeah, Snapdragon's Orange Wonder. So I'm going to pot up these guys now. Potting up just means taking the seedlings from their, growth medium, which is like the seedling mix, the seed starting mix, and dividing them up to select the most healthy ones, and then putting them into regular potting soil, which has a lot more nutrition, to give them a good boost before they get planted outside. So I'm gonna start with these guys here. Okay, so here's my little Snapdragon seedlings. I sow them pretty thickly because I can't be arsed to waste so many cells on little tiny seeds. Things like beans and stuff that are big, I'll devote a full cell to that, but not these little guys. So usually the best ones to keep are the ones that have a full set of new leaves, not just the leaves that first come out. Oh, come on, camera. You can focus on this. Okay, so that one there is a nice healthy one. Obviously, I'm not going to keep all of them because there's a shit ton of them, and even if I sell some, I'm just, that's just going to take so much soil. It's not worth it. So they've all been watered, so they're nice and soft. If they've not been watered, the roots will hang on very tightly to the soil, and it'll probably damage the plant when you separate it. It's kind of a painstaking process. But anyway, there's 2 babies there. I'm going to put probably 3 into each pot. You can see here I've got a lot of little teeny tiny ones. I'm not going to bother with those ones. That's just, this is like the Darwin selection here, except I'm Darwin. I'm selecting the best, fastest growing, strongest babies from this mass of plants. You can see that one there, that big tall one there. He's a big guy. He's good. He's nice and healthy and skookum. And either like yellow or bent, or even tiny little ones like this. Like, I'm not even going to bother with those. It's just too much work. These are seeds that I collected from my own Snapdragons last summer, so I have the luxury of not really caring whether or not I keep a bunch of them, because if I'm buying the seeds, obviously they're a little more valuable. But since I have collected my own seeds, I have a huge amount of them, and so I can afford to be a little more picky with what I decide to keep. Another thing to look for is the roots. So if I'm separating out, hang on a second here, I'm going to find a good one. If I'm separating out these babies, okay, so that one's got a nice long root. That's a good healthy little baby seedling. If I pull one out, and it is, I'm gonna find one that isn't so great. Okay, this is a tiny seedling, but if I find one that's just tiny like this, I'm not gonna bother trying to pull that out. Like all these ones here are just, they're just so small, and some of them are a bit yellow, probably a little too much water got in the bottom of the tray. I think the seedling, the table where I grow my my seeds is probably a little bit tilted, so the water runs to one end. Now I've got like 6 different seedlings here, so I'm gonna see if I can figure out how to show you how I plant them into the pots. I'm just leaning the camera on a bowl right now because my tripod is upstairs and I'm much too lazy to go and get it. Plus hubby is sleeping. So I'm gonna pause this for a sec. So here I've got these 4-inch pots. I'm gonna put a couple handfuls of soil. This is actual potting soil now, not seed starting mix. Like I said, it's got a lot more nutrition in it. And this brand that I just got it at Garden Works, is so far my absolute favorite, My Soil from Cinnabar. Now, the reason I really like it is because it has so much organic matter in it and texture. Like, it's gonna drain really well. Like, it's not gonna hold its form terribly, you know? Like, if you scrunch it up and it's just gonna hold its form and dry out hard packed, that's not gonna be good for your babies. And this one has lots and lots of like fiber. It looks to me like they probably put cocoa coir or something in there, which is great. I much prefer cocoa coir to what is it called? Peat moss, just because of the environmental factor. I don't like the fact that they're robbing peat bogs. It takes a very long time to replenish that resource. So now back to here. There's my pot. I'm going to take 2 little seedlings, put one in one corner and one in the other corner. And now I'm going to top up with soil. Doing all this one-handed, as you can see, so it's a little bit tricky. Most seedlings I've found that I've grown anyway, it's okay if you bury quite a bit of the stem. I imagine some plants don't like that, but these ones don't have a problem with it, and I find it just grows them a little bit stronger. It's almost like they have a better base within the soil to grow from. Yeah, I've potted those guys up. I just topped up the soils. There's about 1 inch or so of the plant coming out. These ones are Snapdragons, right? So these ones are Marigolds. Now what they need is lots of light, a fan. Fan simulates wind, which grows the stems nice and strong. Otherwise you get these poor guys here. This is a euphorbia that I am trying to grow from seed for the first time. And they were left in the seed medium a little too long, so they're really leggy and just not very strong. So I'm burying them really deep, and I'm going to give them a good blast of the fan to try and strengthen them up. And when I plant them in the garden, I'll probably plant them quite deep again, like up to there. And then, of course, some fertilizer is good at this point too. Give them a big boost. So there is an example of how I pot up my seedlings. Another question I was asked about is how to prevent damping off. This here is looking susceptible to damping off. This green, I'm going to call it algae. I have no idea what the hell it is, but it looks like algae to me. And that is an indication of very wet soil. Again, I watered this, and I think a lot of the water went down to one end because of the tilt of my table. So there's a couple of ways that you can avoid damping off of baby seedlings. One of them is vermiculite, this gold flaky stuff. Sprinkle it over the top. It should have been done a little while ago, but anyway, I've been a little bit sick, so I haven't been down here to deal with my plants. I'm going to sprinkle it on all of the ones that look really, really damp. It doesn't damage the flowers at all. Now, what it does is it kind of acts like a sponge. And it also is like full of air because it's a very porous material. It's very squishy, like a foam almost. And so you can put it on top of any of the plants that you might be worried about damping off anytime, really. Okay, and that's it for that. I'm just gonna, there we go. You get lots. The other way you can avoid damping off is one of my favorite botanical terms, or gardening terms, and that's called butt chugging. Now, butt chugging is not actually as sick as you might think, and it does have twisted connotations, I know, but what it is you, instead of watering your flowers or your seedlings from the top, which doesn't actually benefit them all that much, you lift up your starters and you pour it into the bottom of the tray. And you have to be careful with this because even though there's drainage there, if you pour in too much, it can still sit, and that can cause root rot and damping off. So the ideal thing to do is to check your tray after about an hour, maybe even a half an hour with such small pots. And if there's still water sitting in the bottom of the tray, pour it off. And then that way, anything that's left in the soil is going to drain back into the tray at the bottom there, where there's a little bit of there's ridges and stuff. And that gives the plants a chance to breathe. They're getting watered, but they're not being exposed to a ton of moisture right at the top, which is where they're most susceptible to fungal problems. Okay, so that's number 2. Okay, and the last thing that you can do is to prevent damping off, is to get a really good seed starting mix rather than potting mix. And the difference is, seed starting mix has a lot of usually peat moss, which allows for a lot of drainage, and the perlite, which is the little white mineral that's in there, that helps to keep air pockets in the soil as well as increase drainage because there's chunks of stuff in there. So it's not heavy, like it falls apart very, very easily. So that means that the water is going to drain a lot faster and prevent the retention that might cause fungal growth towards the top of your seeds. Okay, so that's the third thing. Okay, so that's it for my seed potting up and watering and fertilizing and damping off protection prevention video. I hope I've covered all the bases. I know that a couple people have asked me about how to plant seeds, so I'm going to do a totally different video about that because that's very, very different. And the planting of seeds is also very dependent on the actual seed. So that'll be a separate episode. But anyway, okay, ciao ciao my dirty darlings.